Hi guys, welcome to January's wrap-ups. What did I read? How did it go? Where I've been? So let's go ahead and get started. So actually, if this is your first time coming across my channel, there is a 2025 introduction video that you can watch before this so you can learn a little bit more about me. So I'm just gonna recap really quickly. The beginning of 2025 has been crazy. It was my birthday month. We got a new president. It's just been crazy. And I decided that I wanted to read more than record. But I am gonna give you guys a wrap up. I have my computer behind my camera so I can remember what I rated all of my books. And let's go ahead and get started. And per usual, every book that I'm talking about with the covers will be over here so that if you want to read the books, then you can find them. Okay, so let's start off with the very first book that I read this year. It would be The Oath by T.M. Richardson. This was a book that I found in December while I was trying to figure out what I wanted my 2025 to look like, what authors I wanted to try, what kind of books I wanted to do, and I have come to find out that I like why choose books. I like my women to be greedy, to have more than one man. Why she gotta settle for one when she can get a little bit of everybody? You know, I like that. So I started with The Oath, and as you can see on this cover, there's a beautiful woman surrounded by 3 men. So basically what happens is the FMC's husband is dying of cancer, and he decides to tell his 3 closest friends that he would like for them to be there for his wife when his time comes. And I'm just thinking, okay, Chelsea, that sounds like a regular book. But it comes out that he means be there for every need she needs. Something not working at the house, she need a repairman, she wants to go to the movies and don't got anybody to go with, she's getting urges and needs that grown women have, he wants them there. And he tells them this before he tells his wife. And so that's basically the premise of the book. Them navigating what this looks like, them deciding if they're gonna stick through it. And it was a cute little read. I really did appreciate in this book how these were grown people. These were not 20-something, 30-year-old something. These were like late 40s, early 50s something. The husband and wife had been together for over 20 years. They had raised the child together. And this was simply because he knew he couldn't be there for her. If you're interested in this, that setup, if you want to see like how that work, I would recommend reading the book. I gave it a 4.5 stars, 4 stars if I couldn't, depending on where I rated it at, but it's about a 4.5 stars. The spice was good, the setting was good, the fact that these were professionals. You had a professor, a lawyer, a physicist, like someone who works with rockets. You had a what did he do? Lawyer, scientist, somebody else, but they were all professionals and she was a professor. So I like that they were established in their career. Somebody rode a motorcycle, like they were successful people trying to make this situation work. So I gave it a 4.5 stars, and the reason I gave it a 4.5 stars, and because I must tell you this so you understand, is this book had what is known as sword crossing in the book community. And that's basically where some of the men or all of the men involved or with the woman are also involved with another man, with someone else in the group. And for me, that's not a concept that I am interested in reading about or something that tickles my fancy. I know what you're thinking, Chelsea, but you just said you like her to be greedy. I like her to be greedy and not have to share. Like, I want them to be all about her, not about her plus each other. It wasn't every man in this group situation, but there was a couple of them that were with each other and her, and that just wasn't for me, and that's what kept it from a 5. If that didn't have that aspect, it would have been a 5 for me. But if that's something that you don't mind in the books or something that you're into, then this will definitely be a read for you. This was by a Black author with Black characters, so it was a really good. I like the concept, so definitely in 2025 I'll be looking for Why Chooses, but without the sword crossing. The second book I read, which I was really excited to read, was Eternal Echoes by Ophelia Rain. First of all, I love that author's name. It is very like regal, it's given. Yeah, I love that name. But Eternal Echoes is a romantasy book, and it is a contemporary fantasy. And I know you're thinking, Chelsea, what is a contemporary fantasy? It takes place in our time. In cities we know, countries we know, they have cars, cell phones, jobs. Like, it's literally like just transplanted here. So this book takes place in Boston, and what this book has is Salem, witch trials, vampire creation, vampire plus size love, fake dating. It has all of this, and what really drew me into this book, which tells a lot about me, it was shared by a young lady that I met on Threads, and now we follow on my Instagram book page, which is Pages of Chelsea on Instagram and TikTok, which is the same title here. And I saw the cover. She shared it on her stories, and I saw this beautiful cover here, and I was like, I don't know what this book is about, but I'm reading it. And it's just something about seeing a plus size Black woman in a romantasy that I don't see a lot, and in a contemporary, not like swords and princesses and all that stuff, but like in a real like relatable time. And so I was set. I gave this book a 5. This was a Kindle Unlimited book. So was The Oath. The Oath was also a Kindle Unlimited book. So if you have that, you can get it. I did not see Eternal Echoes at the library because it's fairly new. It came out January 1st or December 31st, something like that. Excuse me, guys. Ooh, my eyes bother me. So yes, but back to Eternal Echoes. It's about a young lady who it's eternal. So this guy is turned into a vampire due to his wife's death during the beginning of the Salem trials, before it was even called the Salem trials. And he basically lives forever, and he works as a lawyer in Boston, and a young lady comes in. Cannot remember her name right now, but the FMC, the main female character, comes in, and she looks just like his wife from right before he turned into a vampire, and he becomes obsessed with her. And due to some decisions made before he met his wife, some long-standing issues and consequences to his wife's behavior, she becomes endangered. So they form this kind of relationship, and they kind of he kind of learns like this is not his wife. Does he still want to be with her? They're the same but different. It's a very good, it was a happy romance story. Like, yes, we talked about Salem and becoming a vampire and all that stuff, but for me, it was still a very feel-good love story. It was written simple, beautiful, straight to the point. I enjoyed it very much. So that was the second book I read. The third book I read, which was on my list, was Immortal Dark, which I do not have the author's name, but it's right here. Now this is a book that came out in October, and it is also written by a Black author, and it is a fantasy book, a vampire academia book. written by a Black author, and I really want to give it a try. It's a new drop, like I said, October of 2024. And I've been waiting that long to get it on Libby. And it became available sooner than I thought, so I gave it a try. I gave that book about, how much did I get? I got like 35% in, and I DNF'd it for now. I put myself back on the wait list because I really want to like that book, but right now I'm having an issue with it being a fantasy book. There's a lot of world building in this one book. So at 35% in, I kind of know what's the issue we're trying to get over. I kind of know who's the bad guy, but not really. It's a lot of building, and it just couldn't hold my attention. So I put myself back on the wait list. I think I checked it this week. I think I said like 9 weeks. So we'll see when I get it back if it's something that I'm in the mood for or if it's just not a book for me. But I really wanted to like get into that book. Yeah, so at this point at the end of January, it's a DNF. So let's keep going. The next book I read was my book club book, which was The Coworker. I took a break from romance and I did The Coworker. That is by Frida McFadden, and it was a Kindle Unlimited book, and I found the audio on Libby. And when I say book club book, this is a book that I read with my friends, and so we do 2 books a month with each other. So this was number 1. First of all, I have enjoyed all the Frida McFadden books that I read. In 2024, we did The Teacher. We did all 3 Housemaid books. Was it 3 or 4? I can't remember. The whole Housemaid series. And then we did this one. This one's really good. So if you've never read a Frida McFadden book, I would recommend you give it a try. Of course, it's not for everybody, but I like how she starts at the end of the story and then works her way back. And you kind of have to figure out like what is happening as it unravels. Pretty sure you're probably going to be wrong because I was pretty much wrong. I just kept texting my friends like, she's crazy. They're all crazy. They stressing me out. What's going on? It's kind of one of those books that it's a great buddy read, because as you're reading, you kind of can like message each other and be like, what do you think is happening? Who do you think is dead? So it's a great buddy read. She's a great buddy read author. I gave that book a 5. It was great. Kind of started to figure it out, but like I said, I've read a few of her books already, so I kind of know how her brain works, but it was still such a good read. It took me on a good twist. It took me on a good turn. And really what I remember from that book is turtles. Turtles, and to not be a bully, because it comes back and bites you in the butt. The next book I read was my second book club book, which was The Unwanted Marriage. Now, this book is a part of a series called the Windsor series by Katharina Mara. Love the series. That was book 3 out of 6. Love the series. As I did say in my introduction video, I tend to lean towards billionaires, millionaires, professionals with money when it comes to my books. I don't know. Maybe just, that aspect is really intriguing to me. So basically, for the series as a whole, and this is the book that I'm reading, Unwanted Marriage, it is a family of Windsors. There are 5 boys and 1 girl. They're siblings. Their parents are deceased, and their grandmother raised them. They are all adults at this point, like mid-20s and up, and it has been their family's tradition. I'm sorry guys, can I think of that word? Mommy brain. Family's tradition that everybody is in an arranged marriage. They connect the children to another powerful family in whatever industry. And at this point of this generation, the Windsors, because there's so many of them, They are in everything: media, banking, insurance, real estate, technology. Like, they're in everything, and every sibling is over everything. So in this book, we meet Dion. He is the third boy. He has known who he was engaged to for 16 years. He's the longest one. He's the sibling who has known who he was going to marry for the longest time. Like, it's been, she knows, he knows, and Deanna's the boy. He knows, she knows, like, all the family knows, like, these two at some point will be getting married. And because he knew so early on, he kind of left the States to live his own life. He moved to London, ran the company from there, and she kind of was left to her own devices, so he thinks. And after his two brothers, older brothers, get married, he comes to find out it's his turn to get married, and he has not taken the time to get to know this young lady. So this book is about them getting to know each other, getting married, and it's really about learning that you as a person deserve to be loved, and also not taking people at face value. And I know what you're thinking, like, Chelsea, but because they have been engaged for so long, but they never spent time together, like, he didn't know her favorite color, he didn't know, like, her home life, he didn't know, like, her dreams and aspirations, he didn't know why she played piano. Like, they never just, he just knew that they were getting married, so there's no point of getting to know each other. And so he finds out some things about her past, about her family life, about why she moves the way she moves, why she reacts to things, why she's reserved at some moments, why it seems like she's putting on for certain people. And honestly, a lot of these issues that they had could have been fixed if they just would have talked. And also, there's like a 10-year gap between them, age difference. So they grew up together. His mom and her mom were best friends, like best friends. So when his mom died, he was like, oh, so that's the thing. His parents died with her mom. They were on a business trip, and there was a accident, and so her mom died, and both of his parents died in that same accident. And when they were together, she was like 2 and he was like 12, and he was obsessed with little her, and she only liked him out of all of his siblings. And so that's how long grandma knew that they were going to be together, because the moms were like, they only like each other. And all these kids we got running around, they only like each other. So it's a great love story about just learning the person that you're going to be with, and understanding that you also deserve love. Let's keep going. The last book that I've read that was on my list was Wounded Kiss. Okay. Now, that is a Willow Winters book. Willow Winters has been on my radar since I started reading, and I actually listened to this book, and it was on Kindle, but I got it on a Stuff Your Kindle Day, so it was free to me. But if you want to buy it, it is available as an ebook. But sometime last fall, she partnered with a company, and I can't remember what it was called, and she was giving away free audiobooks for a certain number of days. And I swooped in because I was like, I want a Willow Winters book, but I can't pay for it. Like, I can't buy a physical copy, so I'm going to support where I can. And I got the audiobook. Now, I knew Willow Winters books, she herself describes them as very adult, very sexy. And I gave this book a 3. This was my least favorite book, because it was heavy on the adult content and not really on the plot. It was a romantasy, werewolves, basically protect the town from vampires and witches, but every year you have to basically put all girls between 19, I think it was 22, up for like show to see if they want to take one or a couple of them. Which the backstory was great. I did enjoy the backstory, but it kind of just flopped once the girls were picked and they went to werewolf territory. It was more adult time and not really them adjusting to like never going back to see our family, never going back to the human town. Like never, it didn't have that plot motivation. Now, with that being said, the reason I did give it a 3 and not anything lower is because this is a series. So I'm hoping as the series continues, we build more on the plot and the adult time. I don't mind the adult content. That's not it. But I like my stories to have a plot to move it along with adult time. And it can be a lot, but I need the plot to move along. It's like we got to the second half of this book and the plot just like disappeared. And I have really high hopes for Willow, so I'm going to give her another chance. So that was the last book, and that was a book that I read with my Fable book club, Wounded Kisses. Wounded Kiss, this beautiful cover here. So I don't know when I'll give the second book a chance. But I'm willing to. I didn't hate it. It started off good. The smut was good. The adult time was, decently described. I understood why that was happening, but the other stuff just did not continue. Now, the last thing I added was Zodiac Academy. I have been watching Tiffish Books on Instagram, well, TikTok, and then when the whole TikTok thing happened, I made sure I followed her on Instagram. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna read Zodiac Academy. I'm ready. Now, I will say this, because you're probably gonna pick this up if you go back and look at my other videos for 2024. I try to only read one book a series, no more than 2 books in a series in a month, just because I have withdrawals when series are over. So I try to stretch them out as long as possible, and it gives me time to not get so sucked in that when it's time to exit the world, I have a hard time. So with that being said, I was really planning to read 1 Zodiac book a month. So that would give me like a year and a half, almost 2 years, because it's like somewhere between 19 and 22 books. I keep hearing different numbers. But yes, I started Zodiac Academy, The Awakening. Now let's talk about this, because I know this video is getting a little long, but this is the last book we're going to talk about. And I want to say that I've read this book. This book has it's very familiar to me. It's extremely familiar to me. So I think I might have read this book at one point, because I have the second book on my Audible. So I'm figuring I started reading the series and then never finished. So this is kind of like a refresher, and then I'm going to jump to the second book and see. But I know I didn't get past the second book when I started this series. And I've been struggling, because every time I read it or listen to it, I'm like, yeah, I know this. And another thing is, I see the imagery in my head, and part of me feels like I saw a TV show or like I don't say kids, but like a preteen cartoon about this stuff, because I can see it clearly in my head, and I know I have a vivid imagination. So I wonder if I'm just really good at like seeing what I'm reading and seeing what I'm hearing in my mind's eye. So that's kind of throwing me off, where I'm like, I know this very well. So I finally got to about 87%. So by the time this goes live, I should be finished with this book and trying to decide when I'm gonna read the second book. So this kind of slid in there this month, because I finished the rest of my books. So that puts me at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That put me at 6 completed books and 7 attempted books, because remember, Immortal Dark was a DNF. And as I did tell my other video, that I am doing oh, I'm doing the ABC challenge. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm doing the ABC challenge, and so I will have that completed chart right here so you can see what letters, like how many spaces I have left. So I'm excited. That's what I read. So I've read 2 romanticies, a fantasy, a thriller, and 2 romance books. Yes. 2 fantasy, a thriller, 2 yeah, something like that. So yes, I want to thank you for coming to see January wrap-ups. I appreciate you watching the video with, well, discussing books with me. And don't forget to follow me on TikTok and Instagram if you want to see more of me. And don't forget that I will also be doing shorts on here. I appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy reading, and I'll see you for February hopefuls. Bye, guys.